On the afternoon of August 20th, 1966, a young boy flying a kite on Vintém Hill, just outside of Niterói, Brazil, stumbled upon a deeply unsettling scene. In the grass, partially obscured by underbrush, lay two bodies. They were adult men, dressed in matching formal suits and waterproof coats. Both wore peculiar lead masks, the kind typically used to shield the eyes from radiation. Nearby were an empty water bottle, a packet that once held 2 towels, and a small notebook. The police were called immediately. When investigators arrived, they found no signs of struggle or external injury. The bodies were oddly positioned, lying side by side as if placed with care. The most curious item, however, was the notebook. In it, a single cryptic instruction: 16:30, be at the determined place. 18:30, ingest capsules. After effect, protect metals, await signal. The case would quickly spiral into one of the most baffling and eerie unsolved mysteries in Brazilian history. Who were these men? Why were they dressed this way? What were the capsules, and what was the signal they were waiting for? The two deceased were identified as Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, both electronic technicians from the city of Campos dos Goitacazes. Friends and family described them as intelligent and reserved, fascinated by electronics and, interestingly, spiritualism. Reports suggest they had recently become interested in contacting spirits through the use of homemade devices. According to friends, the two men had been experimenting with something they called scientific spiritualism, a blend of technological gadgetry and metaphysical beliefs. They believed they could communicate with higher beings or energies using frequencies and vibrations. Though few understood their intentions, those who knew them insisted that they were sincere in their pursuits. A few days before their deaths, Manuel and Miguel told relatives they were headed to São Paulo to buy work equipment. Instead, they took a bus to Niterói. Receipts found with them showed purchases of the raincoats, the lead masks, and a bottle of water. No capsules were ever recovered. Witnesses reported seeing the men on Vintém Hill on the day of their deaths. One account came from a local boy who said he saw them with another unidentified man. Another witness recalled that the pair seemed anxious, frequently checking their watches. That detail aligned disturbingly well with the timeline written in their notebook. What made the scene even stranger was its complete lack of violence. There were no wounds, no signs of a struggle, and no disturbance in the surrounding area. It was as though the men had simply laid down and died. The only clue was the note and those masks. The masks were made from thin sheets of lead, shaped crudely to cover the eyes. They had no straps and appeared to have been fashioned by hand. Some theorized they were intended to shield against bright light or radiation, which suggested the men were expecting some kind of visual phenomenon. There was also a piece of cardboard with numerical notations and cryptic phrases that some likened to a code or cipher. Unfortunately, like much else in the case, it was never deciphered. Autopsies were delayed due to the condition of the bodies. By the time forensic pathologists examined them, decomposition had rendered the internal organs too decayed to detect toxins or poisons. The official cause of death, undetermined. In the absence of clear evidence, speculation filled the void. One of the earliest theories was that Manuel and Miguel were part of a secretive spiritualist group. Brazil, particularly in the 1960s, was home to a wide range of spiritual movements blending Catholicism, mysticism, and Afro-Brazilian traditions. Some investigators believed the men may have been conducting a ritual, perhaps one meant to achieve astral projection or communication with extraterrestrial entities. Another theory involved drugs. The cryptic note suggested the ingestion of capsules, yet no such capsules were found. Could someone have taken them afterward? Or were they destroyed by the elements? If the men had taken hallucinogens or experimental drugs, it could explain both the masks and their behavior. But if so, Where were the drugs acquired? Then came the Cold War theories. As electronics technicians during a time of global tension, it was speculated that they may have been involved in some clandestine operation. Their deaths, according to this view, could have been the result of a botched experiment or a silencing operation. However, no concrete evidence supported this. Some even posited that the two men had constructed a device that emitted a powerful flash of light or radiation, and the masks were meant to protect them during its use. Perhaps the experiment failed. Perhaps they were waiting for a signal that never came. News of the lead masks case quickly spread across Brazil and beyond. Newspapers published lurid headlines, and the public became obsessed with every detail. Amateur sleuths and conspiracy theorists weighed in, suggesting everything from UFO encounters to psychic sabotage. Despite the attention, the case saw little progress. Investigators struggled with a lack of resources, and leads gradually dried up. The local police were unequipped to handle a case so bizarre, and the government showed little interest in pursuing further. The families of the victims remained devastated. They received no closure and were left with more questions than answers. Friends reported that Manuel and Miguel had never expressed suicidal thoughts, nor did they belong to any known extremist or cult-like groups. To those who knew them, their deaths were as shocking as they were mysterious. The lead masks case has since become a staple of true crime law and paranormal investigation. Documentaries, articles, and internet forums continue to debate its meaning. Theories have only multiplied over time, yet certain details continue to haunt those who study the case. What was the signal they awaited? Why were the masks necessary? Who was the third man seen with them? Why didn't they leave a clearer explanation if it was an experiment? The terrain of Vintém Hill has changed over the decades, but locals still remember the case vividly. Some even claim to feel an eerie energy near the spot where the bodies were found. In modern times, some researchers have attempted to re-examine the case using contemporary technology. Facial recognition software, materials analysis, and improved forensic tools have been suggested as methods to possibly revisit the evidence. But with the original materials long lost or degraded, such efforts remain hypothetical. The lead masks case has inspired fiction as well. Writers and filmmakers have drawn from its details to craft stories of hidden knowledge, government secrecy, and spiritual quests gone wrong. Its symbolic imagery, the raincoats, the note, the masks, continues to resonate with creators fascinated by the limits of human understanding. For some, the case represents the dangers of unregulated experimentation. For others, it is a tale of spiritual yearning, where two men reached for something greater and were consumed by it. Decades later, the mystery of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana remains unsolved. No further leads emerged, no capsules were ever found, and the so-called signal was never explained. What they were truly doing on that hill has been lost to time. Their deaths left behind no answers, only questions, and a cryptic note that continues to baffle anyone who reads it. In a quiet cemetery, their graves lie side by side. Their final moments remain a puzzle, locked away in the misty slopes of Vintém Hill, beneath the watchful eyes of a sky that offered no signal at all. If you enjoyed this story, please leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to explore more real-life mysteries every week. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.